What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out a brand new scooter from HIBOY. The one that I have here today, it's called the S2 Pro. This is a scooter that has a top speed of 31 kilometers an hour. It has a range of up to 40 kilometers on one charge. Of course, that really depends where you're riding the scooter, how heavy you are and so on. And this scooter is powered by a 500 watt motor that's in the front wheel here. Okay, so starting with a super quick unboxing, as you'd expect, this scooter comes in a fairly big box and you do have to put together about 4 screws. It takes about 3 minutes to get this ready and on the road basically. Alright, so taking a look at the scooter itself, well, this looks like most scooters out there. On the front and on the back, we have 10-inch solid tires. The upside to having solid tires is the fact that you're not gonna get punctures. So the tires are basically indestructible. But the downside to having these kind of tires, the ride is kind of rough. Now, talking about roughness. So on the back here, even though you can't really see it, there is a rear suspension. You can also adjust how soft or how hard that rear suspension is. But compared to most other scooters that have inflatable tires, the ride on this one is a bit rough. Mostly if you're going over rough terrain, you do feel the bumps of the road in your knees and in your back. So the ride isn't as smooth as other scooters that I've tried that had inflatable tires, even though we do have a rear suspension. Okay, so on the back here, we do have a disc brake. As you probably noticed, we don't have a disc brake on the front, but we'll talk about the front brake in just a second. The braking power from the rear is really good, so no issues with that. And on the front, even though you are not seeing a brake here, we actually get regenerative braking on the front. And I actually find this system that they've used on this scooter really good. So you do brake a bit different than most other scooters. So we don't have a brake lever for the front. We do have kind of the same button that we have for the accelerator. So whenever you're going downhill, for example, you can just brake with that front wheel. So it is very smooth, very quiet and very effective. Not to mention that if you're going downhill, you're actually recharging the battery while braking. So basically, if you need to stop nice and slow, you're gonna use the front brake because it does work really good. And as I said, it kind of recharges your battery whenever you're braking. But if you need to stop nice and fast, you're gonna use both brakes, and the braking power is really good on this scooter. Okay, and going back to the back side of the scooter once again. So on the back here, we do have a light. This light is on whenever you turn on the lights on the scooter. It also acts as a brake light. So whenever you're braking, this will flash. And here we also have the latch for the folding mechanism. So you can fold this quite easily. We have the latch on the front here. You lift this and then you do this. And then you can carry the scooter. The scooter weighs about 17.5 kilos, so not the heaviest scooter out there, not the lightest, so it is fairly easy to carry, but you definitely don't want to carry this scooter for extended periods of time. But compared to most other scooters out there, yes, it is a bit lighter. The kickstand is on the left-hand side of the scooter. This is made out of plastic. It's not as sturdy as other ones that I've seen for other scooters. So whenever you have the scooter on it, it does move a little bit. It's not bad, but there is a bit of movement. Here we also have an LED strip that's red, so on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side. However, if you're riding during the day, you can't really see that light. But if you're riding at night, you can clearly see that. And you have this cool light around the scooter basically, so you're gonna be more visible at night. The battery pack is located at the bottom here, so you're basically standing on top of that battery pack. Here we have rubber, so your feet are not gonna slip, but I wish this would have been a bit wider because whenever you're standing on it, well, depending how big your feet are, of course, you don't have that much room, so that is a bit of a downside. Moving on to the top here. So here, of course, we have the handlebar. We have the brake lever for the front wheel, as I mentioned earlier. We have the brake lever for the rear wheel. Then we have a small display in the center here. On this small display, you can basically see your speed, how much battery you have, and what mode you are in. Whenever you are going downhill and you're braking, you can also see the energy going back into the battery. And you can kind of see this in direct sunlight. I mean, It's not the best display out there, but you can definitely see your speed even in direct sunlight. On the front here we also have the headlight. If you're using the light at night, it is bright enough, but during the day you can't really see it, so not as visible as other scooters that I've seen in the past if you are riding during the day. And of course we have the mechanical bell right here. I also like the fact the grips don't move left, right, they don't squeak, they don't do any noise, even if you're going over rougher terrain. As I mentioned earlier, the top speed for this scooter is 31 kilometers an hour. We also have two modes, the slower mode and the faster mode. Now, if you're riding on a flat surface, you can easily reach that 31 kilometers an hour speed, top speed basically. But if you're riding uphill, you're not gonna get to that 31 kilometers an hour. Considering that we have a 500 watt motor in the front wheel here, I was actually expecting that the scooter would have more power. So whenever I ride uphill, it feels like it doesn't have any power. I actually tried other scooters in the past that have like 350 watt motors, and they were pulling harder than this one. So if you have a lot of hills wherever you live, this scooter feels underpowered on most of those hills, unfortunately. As I mentioned earlier, you can get up to 40 kilometers on one charge. It takes about 5 to 6 hours to fully charge this from 0 to 100, the charger that comes in the box. And for me personally, because I am heavier, I can get about 35 kilometers on one charge. However, if you're a bit lighter than me, if you don't ride up hills that much, you can get closer to that 40 kilometers. Not to mention that if you go downhill and you use that front brake, you do get some of that power back into the battery. So it really depends on the terrain that you're getting, but you can easily get about 35 kilometers on one charge. There is also an app that you can download and control the scooter from the app, and the app is quite handy actually. First of all, you can lock it from the app, so whenever you lock the scooter, the front wheel basically locks. So if you leave your scooter somewhere, people aren't gonna be able to steal it because that front wheel doesn't move, so they have to carry it. So very handy feature having that locking mechanism, I'm gonna say. You can also adjust certain things from the app there, so you can change the top speed, you can change the way the scooter accelerates, you can enable or disable the cruise control on it. Personally, I haven't really used the cruise control on it, but you can enable that from the app. Overall, the build quality for this scooter is really good. I love the fact that it doesn't make any noise, it doesn't squeak, it doesn't creak whenever you go over rough terrain. So the lot of scooters that I've tried, whenever you go over bumps and stuff, they squeak, they creak. Well, that's not the case with this one. Now, because we have those solid tires, the ride is rougher than normal. And yes, we do have this suspension on the back here, and it does help a bit, but compared to other scooters that have inflatable tires, the ride is not as smooth. Keep in mind that you can also adjust the rear suspension here, so you have two bolts on this side and two bolts on that side, so you can make the suspension softer or harder depending on your needs. But overall, yes, compared to other scooters that have inflatable tires, the ride is not as smooth. So to quickly conclude this video, overall really good build quality. The scooter is fairly light, so you can carry it for longer periods of time, mostly compared to other scooters available on the market. I wish the ride would have been a bit smoother. I guess if we would have had those inflatable tires, that would have been the case. The top speed is great at 31 kilometers an hour, but I wish it would have had a bit more power, mostly if you're riding uphill. If you don't have any hills wherever you're located, it doesn't really matter, but you will notice that uphill it does slow down quite a lot, and you're gonna end up to a certain point on the hill where you kind of have to push it. But overall, it is a really good scooter for in-town commuting. Alright guys, hopefully this video was useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.